Hello, loves. How are you guys? Let's chat. I think this would be a good video to tell you guys how my husband and I met, okay? So we are going to rewind 24 years ago, and I want to give a little bit of a backstory to this. Not a backstory, but explanation, because I just can smell the comments. I could just smell them. All right, so let's first start with culture, okay? Culture, especially 24 years ago, once a girl in the Arab culture reaches an age of marriage, which at the time, 18, 19, once you pretty much become an adult. Let's rewind even further back in the village in the 50s, getting married at like 15, 16. And please spare me your ew, oh my God, I can't believe they did that, because if you go backwards even more, it was very common, all right? So anywho, there's the explanation for that. So once you turn 19 or so, it was like, oh, now we need to find a suitable husband for the daughter. Of course, she needs to get married. And for my mother, marriage and children, you have succeeded in life, okay? So it was like, as soon as you turn 19, you just, let's start finding a suitable husband for you, which is very difficult if you're not allowed to date. You're not allowed to go out. Yeah, where are they gonna find you? So most of the time it was more like, I know somebody who knows somebody, an aunt that might know a cousin or something like that, a relative. But for me, for my case, again, let's put some information for you guys as well. Muslims cannot date. Now, I know I said that before, and I had a lot of comments saying, how could you spread that? No, Muslims are allowed to date, blah, 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 blah. Technically, we're not allowed to go on dates. Like a guy at school can't ask you, hey, you want to go out on a date with me? And you go out Friday night or something on a date. That doesn't happen. It's more Muslims court. And courting is more like when they come and speak to the parents and say that courting leads to marriage. That's what courting is. It's not just dating for the fun of it. It's not just dating and it's not going anywhere. If you're gonna court somebody, that means it leads to marriage. So that's what it is. And basically the man comes to the woman's household and talks to her parents and says, I'm interested in your daughter. And that's kind of how it goes. And then they don't actually go out on dates. They stay more often or not in the house and kind of get to know each other there for, I don't know, months on end. And if they were to go out with somebody, there's a lot of strict, like some families would say, okay, somebody has to go with them in order for them to go on a date. But I never had that. So we would go on the few dates that I was allowed to go on. And that's when I could say we dated, but we courted originally. So that's how it kind of works with Muslims. It's not like, same thing with my daughters. It's not like they have never had boyfriends. They're 21 and 20 this summer, and they've never had boyfriends. Interested in them. It's going to be courting for the purposes of marriage, not for the purposes of just anything else. Okay, so 18 that year, my mom wanted to move. She wanted a bigger house for us. We're a family of 5 girls, and my mom and my dad were a family of 7. So she found a real estate agent, and funny thing is I did not want to move from that house because I lived like a block away from my best friends, and we lived like right across the street from my elementary school. And I know I'm going to college, but still, just the nostalgia of it all, I just didn't want to move. I was annoyed. I loved our house, and it was our house. I'm like, I don't want to move anywhere, but my mom was adamant, and it didn't matter. So we were moving. So she found a real estate agent, and I was just so upset about the whole thing that I made a big fuss about it. So every time he'd come, I'm like, I don't want to move. I don't like this. And just basically making a big fuss. But he was super, super handsome. So every time he'd come, he'd get like the neighbors around me would be looking. Like, I remember the neighbor next door, when he walked to the backyard to kind of take a look at the house or whatever, the neighbor next door, she came up to me and she was like, who is that? And I'm like, that's our real estate agent. And she's like, really? I go, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, he's so cute. I'm like, I know, right? But he was much older. I did not know his age at the time, but he looks really good for his age. So, I mean, he was 33. That's not really old. I'm just saying. So I did not know his age at the time. Anyways, fast forward to him finding us a house. I really was making a big deal. I'd go in the house, whatever house we were looking at, she would take me with her. And I'm like, no, I don't like it. This is ugly. I don't want to move. And no, this is ugly. I don't like this and I don't like that. Basically making a big fuss. And I'm sure, well, I'll tell you later. So we had moved in the summer, and I needed a job. So my mom's like, well, let me ask the real estate agent if there is like some work you can do, maybe secretary. So she called them and there was an opening for a secretary like in the front of office, and I would work there. I went there and I, applied, I got the job or whatever. It was a very quiet office. It wasn't a very well-known real estate agency. And so it wasn't very busy. So because I still wasn't very social. I didn't know, because again, my mother was strict, so it was me stuck at home all the time. So I was kind of socially awkward and didn't know how to deal with people and customers and whatever. So it was a good learning place, a good experience. But anywho, because it was quiet, it wasn't as busy, and he also was just starting off in real estate. I think it was his second year, and he had just moved from New York to Michigan, so he wasn't even here long. Then he would kind of spend time there, and if I had questions, like as the days went on, I would have questions and he would be the only one there really, so I would go ask him because I didn't know, and he would help me. He'd also come to the front and sit often like with me, and we would chat for hours or whatever when he wasn't busy. And I would go home and I would tell my mom, and I'd be like, sometimes he sits with me and he talks with me and whatever, and it's really nice. So this was months went on as we would talk and whatnot, and one day he just went, again, remember, we don't date. So one day he just was standing next to me. It was a little bit busy that day, and he kind of goes, so will you marry me? And then I kind of looked up at him. He's really tall. He's 6'1". I looked up to him as I was sitting down on my chair, and I'm like, what? And then he goes, I really would like to get to know you more. And I go, well, you're gonna have to go talk to my mom and dad. And then he's like, yeah, sure, of course. So we set that up, and started talking. And again, remember the courting, he'd come to the house and we'd talk even more and get to know each other more. And then again, I'm the oldest of immigrant parents, so my mother was still strict, did not let me go out, but there was a few times where she agreed to let us go out on dates and whatnot. And that's what we did. We went out a few times and whatnot. And then we ended up having our engagement, and then a year later, our wedding, basically. So I just remember, because there was times where he was like, man, I was so annoyed by you when we first got to know each other in the beginning when he was trying to sell my parents' house, because he was like, this girl is gonna sit here and ruin my deals for me. She's like, she keeps complaining about every house we go to, she's gonna lose me this deal. Remember, he was just starting off. So yeah, that was so funny. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. But now, to the age difference, yes, there is an age difference. I was 19 when I officially got married, and he was 34. So we're 14 years, 364 days apart. And I know a lot of people frown about that. But remember, back at that time, getting married, first let's talk about getting married young. Getting married young, especially in the Arab culture, is very common. Very, very common. 19 was not, it was considered normal, okay? Marrying somebody that much older than you, not so much. But it's not like I had a bunch of guys knocking on my door asking where was I going to see these people anyways. And it's not like I settled, but I really did end up liking him. He's a very good, decent human being. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That explains it. And so we are total opposites, but like Paula Abdul says, opposites attract. Now, since I know I might get asked this, do I want the same for my daughters? No. I'm like, don't even think about it. Don't put it in your head. You are both finishing college. We will help you and support you in that. You are both getting yourselves a good career. Hopefully, my daughter, my oldest, wants to be a dentist. Wonderful. My other daughter wants to be an engineer. Amazing. So this is what we're striving for them. And I told them, if you happen to meet somebody, granted, they go out a lot more than I ever did, probably 99% more than I ever did. So they do have the chance to meet somebody out on their own without being, you know what I mean? So it's a lot better for them. So I told them, if you happen to meet somebody out when you're out, or you meet somebody at school, which would be great because they'll be in the same field or whatever. I'm like, then okay, I'm not going to put my foot down or anything, but I'm not going to push it. Not like, oh, you turned 19, we gotta find you a suitor. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm not. So again, if the right guy happens to come along, even if we have to go through a couple of guys, then fine. I'm not going to be the one to stop it. But I'm also not pushing it. So right now, as of now, No, we are not pushing it. I want them to focus on school, get themselves situated, and get themselves, something to fall back on. Always have a degree, always have a job that you can fall back on. And that's what I want from them, for them. So, and then in terms of children, you all are going to hate me for this. You are going to hate me for this, but it's okay. This is how I feel. I'm the oldest of immigrant children. Took care of 4 younger girls, 4 younger sisters. Went straight into being a teacher because that was the only career that I was given as an option. Only family, mother-oriented career. So took care of those children. Came home, took care of had to have children right away because again, in the Arab culture then at the time, if you're not popping out babies, then what are you doing? What are you doing? So mind you, at the age of 19, I had to start right away. It was like from both ends. Like, when are you gonna have a baby? When are you gonna have not just from the in-laws and not just from my side, but from everybody else. Like, as soon as you see somebody, are you gonna have a baby now? Are you gonna have a baby now? Are you gonna have a... Please don't do that. Please don't ask couples that. You never know who is struggling. You never know who doesn't want any. You never know who's had a miscarriage and you just ask them when you're trying to have a baby. Please don't do that. Let's just mind our own business about that. So yeah. And again, it took me 3 years to have my firstborn daughter, my eldest. 3 years of trying. So yes, never ask that. But anyway, that's what was pushed onto me. I didn't know we had different choices. So I tell my girls all the time, kids take up majority of your entire day. Majority. If you guys want to be working women and then putting them in daycare, like, I feel bad. And I know people out there put their kids in daycare. I understand situations are different, but I just feel bad. And I'm like, and I'm not gonna babysit. This is where you're gonna hate me. I don't wanna babysit. I don't want to be stuck at home from 8 to 6. Let's be honest. If it's a 9 to 5 job, it's gonna be 8 to 6, taking care of my grandbabies. I don't wanna do that. I have been there, done that. Okay, I still have my youngest. He's 12. I'm still taking care of him. So me, I am officially done. I will be there for date nights if they want. I will be there if they want to go on a small mini vacation. I will be there for emergencies. But as to be there and babysit my grandchildren while my kids go to work 5 days a week, I'm sorry guys, not happening. I'm not doing that. I am not getting stuck with that. And I tell them all the time, think about it before you do it. Think. Because kids do take care of 90% of your life. It's 90% of your income goes to your children. 90% of what you do goes to your children. 90% of your time goes to your children. All of it. All of it. You have no independence. It's very difficult to do anything. It's difficult to go grocery shopping. Okay? It's difficult to even be a stay-at-home mom. It's difficult. It's difficult for that. You lose your sanity. So I was like, yeah, I want you guys to enjoy yourself. But also at the same time, if you're going to have any, don't be like, oh, I'll depend on my mom. She'll babysit while I work. Not happening. Sorry, guys. I'm not doing that. I've been there, done that. It's time for Mimo to enjoy herself. Thank you very much. Okay? 20 plus, 30 plus years of taking care of kids. I am done. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's it for the chat for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Not as funny, but a little more serious, but it's okay. And let me know if you guys have questions. Honestly, give me some things that I can speak to you about or whatever it may be, and we can discuss that. And that's it. All right, bye.